The Sennheiser Ambeo dynasty has just welcomed its latest edition, a compact Dolby Atmos soundbar which, between me and you, might just be the best compact soundbar that we've reviewed to date. Revolutionary in its release back in 2019, stunningly scaled down in 2022, and now magnificently miniature in 2023. The Sennheiser Ambeo range is expanding again. That's right. After countless leaks and rumours, it's finally here. Sennheiser's new entry-level Dolby Atmos soundbar, which comes in with an RRP of £699, almost half that of the Ambeo Plus. I've been lucky enough to get some exclusive hands-on access with it to share everything there is to know with you guys. Now, despite the Ambeo Mini's compact form factor, don't be fooled by its size. It's still a pretty weighty unit with a great deal of power behind it, and it's capable of delivering an impressive max output of 250 watts. Now, this soundbar has clearly been designed to bring that signature Sennheiser sound to smaller spaces and bridge the gap in performance between those premium soundbars and the compact rivals on the market right now. Now, I'm sure you're thinking £699 is definitely at the top end when it comes to price points in the compact soundbar market. So I've been putting this through its paces to see how it compares with some of the best sellers in this category and to see if it justifies your extra budget. Now, as always, if you find this video helpful, then we would love it if you gave us a sub and join the community. That 100k is definitely in sight. And if you decide that this soundbar is right for you and you want to support us, then head to smarthomesounds.co.uk, which will of course include our usual 30 days free returns and lifetime product support. First things first, I want to talk to you guys about the design though. Now, if you watched our Sennheiser Ambeo Plus review, you'll know that I'm a big fan of this new look that we're seeing on their latest soundbars. Now, just like the Max and the Plus, the Ambeo Mini is only available in black, which doesn't give you any choice in styling, but will likely be the preferred color for lots of you guys anyway. I like the Ambeo LED detailing, the sleek plastic cabinet, and this fabric wraparound grille too. Now, you'll also notice there's some rubber feet on the bottom here, which actually help to prevent any unwanted vibrations and provide a little bit of ventilation for the soundbar. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks a lot like the Plus and looks a little more like a conventional soundbar than some of the more lifestyle focused brands like B&O or Sonos, but it's still got that very robust and bold look of the Ambeo Max that I know a lot of you guys love. It is a little bigger than something like the Sonos Beam Gen 2 and slightly wider than the Samsung HW S60B, but the differences are tight and it's still going to be ideal to sit under most TVs on top of almost any media unit, or even wall mounted though if that's what you fancy. For some rough guidance though, we do tend to recommend these more compact soundbars for TVs 55 inches and under. In terms of controls, the top panel again is almost a replica of the Ambeo Plus. So you've got all of your touch controls and your Ambeo mode toggle that we'll go over in a little bit. There's also that active codec LED light that I loved from the Plus on this one too, which is a nice little bonus. So you don't have any uncertainty about whether you're actually getting Dolby Atmos or not. Now, I think in terms of design, the Ambeo Mini ticks a lot of boxes. Now, admittedly, no, it's not particularly groundbreaking by any means, but it's practical, looks nice, and sticks pretty true to Sennheiser's design philosophy and the rest of the range. Now, I know you guys will be dying to hear how this one actually sounds, but first we've got to talk about the internals. Inside, we've got a total of 6 speakers, all powered by a Class D amp. So there's 2 1.6-inch full-range drivers firing sound to the front, another 2 of those delivering sound out to the sides, and then built-in dual 4-inch woofers here for nice deep bass that can go as low as 43 Hz. Now, as with a lot of these compact soundbars nowadays, you'll notice that there's no dedicated upwards firing drivers on this one. Instead, the Ambeo Mini uses virtual height speakers to simulate overhead effects instead. Now, technically speaking, that means that this soundbar is still capable of delivering 7.1.4 channel surround sound, albeit virtually. Now, in terms of processing power, by using the same quad-core processor as the Sennheiser Ambeo Plus, this is a very capable soundbar which should be able to handle whatever you throw at it. On to connectivity then. Now, this is where Sennheiser really impressed me with the Ambeo Plus. Now, naturally, before I even got my hands on this soundbar, I was pretty excited at the thought of having that sort of connectivity on a compact soundbar, but sadly, there's a few compromises that we've had to make in exchange for that more compact form factor. If I show you the back here, we've got a HDMI 2.1 eARC port, USB input, and that's about it. Now, there's obviously also your reset and setup buttons here too. Would I have liked to have seen at least one HDMI 2.1 4K 120Hz pass-through port? Yeah, especially at this price point, but this is a trend that we are seeing even on more premium soundbars. Now you'll also notice that there's no dedicated sub out either, as there was with the Ambeo Plus. So if you're looking to add a wired subwoofer, which you can do on the Plus and the Max, then this isn't going to be the one for you. However, you do have the option to add Sennheiser's Ambeo sub, and up to 4 of them actually, but I'll come back to that later on. So the Ambeo Mini will give you support for almost every other audio codec you could wish for, like Dolby Atmos in its enhanced True HD format, as well as DTS:X, Sony 360 Reality Audio, and MPEG-H. Now you've also got Bluetooth 5.0 connectivity, which isn't necessarily my go-to connection method on a day-to-day basis, but something that I know is a big thing for a lot of you guys from a versatility standpoint, as well as Wi-Fi streaming via all the main music services. Now in testing, I've been really impressed with all of these features and the connectivity. The delay between connecting to say Spotify Connect and pressing play on my audio device and hearing it on the soundbar was pretty much non-existent, and actually a lot better than some of the other soundbars in this category, so big plus to Sennheiser for that. When it comes to control, you've got a couple of options. There's obviously your top panel controls. You've got the Ambeo soundbar remote, which yes, is a spitting image of what we've already seen from the other Ambeo soundbars previously. Voice control via either Amazon Alexa built in, Google Assistant with Google Home, or Siri via Apple HomeKit, or you can use the Sennheiser Smart Control app. Now in terms of app functionality, I've already gone on record saying that I'm a big fan of this one, but if you're new to Sennheiser, you'll be glad to know it's intuitive, setup is seamless, and there's a lot of adjustments that you can make with this soundbar. There's all the basics like your integrated music player, input selection, and volume. Now there's some adjustable EQ presets with dedicated sound modes like adaptive, movie, music, neutral, news, and sports, which you can obviously fine tune to your preferences with their dedicated EQs. Now while you're in this section, there's also an option to adjust the Ambeo 3D sound levels from a choice of light, regular, or boost. Now I personally prefer to keep this on regular, but boost will open up that soundstage even more, so it'll all depend on what you're wanting from this one. Now you've then got night mode, which compresses the bass of the soundbar for more discreet listening at night, as well as your voice enhancement too. Now one of the big things that you will find is this Ambeo mode toggle though, which is basically Sennheiser's custom processing method that looks to boost the performance of your soundbar by enhancing the overall effects of spatial and immersive audio. It's a pretty clever piece of tech that works alongside the likes of Dolby Atmos to add a boost in immersion and soundstage width, which might not be for everyone, but it's definitely something that I'd recommend playing around with as and when you get this soundbar set up. Right at the bottom of the app's homepage, you'll also find the system calibration tool, which works really well. This automatic equalization software uses the Ambeo Mini's 4 built-in mics to analyze the acoustics in your room and optimize its sound performance accordingly. It's ridiculously quick and requires nothing from me, and I'd probably go as far as to say it's one of the most seamless processes for this sort of thing that I've ever used. There's also some more detailed enhancements on the settings page of the app, like center channel adjustments, which I know is a big plus for a lot of users. And another plus for the Mini is you can also use a web browser to customize your settings, so a plus for you non-smartphone users. Right, on to the main event. How does this one sound then? Well, if you're a fan of the channel, then you'll know that we like to do what we call real world testing in a variety of different spaces with a range of content. As well, the spec sheets are important, they can only tell us so much. Now, before I run you through my thoughts, I'm going to give you guys a little taster to see what you think. And usual disclaimer, as always though guys, what you hear over YouTube will not be exactly what we're hearing right here in the studio, but it should give you a good flavour of what you can expect.
Here we go again, huh?
Okay, hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Now when it comes to premium compact soundbars, I'm always getting asked for my opinions on which is number one, and after listening to this one for a couple of weeks, I think I can say this is the best that I've heard. There've been a couple of really standout features, but firstly, I've got to talk to you guys about those Atmos effects. Now I know non-Atmos content is equally as important, and this soundbar handled that really impressively too. They actually have something called upmix technology, so stereo or 5.1 will get some sort of boost to a more expansive performance. But for movies, TV, and just an overall cinematic experience, this soundbar has really impressed me, especially considering its form factor and price point. It's pushing closer to much larger and more premium soundbars. The overall width of the soundstage and the way the audio was steered around the room was exceptional. Of course, there are no dedicated upwards firing drivers in this soundbar, and it doesn't compete with those or with a dedicated cinema setup with height channels. However, what it can achieve with that Ambeo virtualization technology is pretty impressive, and I felt like it did a decent job of placing overhead sounds above you. Now, one of the standout scenes for me was in Bloodshot, where he throws a flashbang into a room filled with enemies. Not only was the soundstage broad and room filling, but the way the audio was transcended from the front all the way to the back aerially was thoroughly impressive, especially considering this was done virtually. Now, the clarity and positioning of each element was great too, and really true to life. Now, of course, this is all relative, and no, it's not quite the immersion of the bigger Ambeo soundbars, but I'd say it pushes the Plus surprisingly close. But I've got to say that the one element I wasn't blown away by was the bass. Now, naturally, this is a smaller soundbar, so you're not expecting to get that booming bass that you do with the Ambeo Max or the Plus, but I just felt as if I was left wanting a little bit more in the low end now and again. Now, don't get me wrong, for smaller spaces, this is going to be more than enough, but personally, I miss that subtle rumble at higher and lower volumes. Now, obviously, the option is there to pair an Ambeo sub or 4, but that's an additional £649 a piece, which might not be something that you factored in. Now, unfortunately, Sennheiser don't offer support for any surround sound rears right now though, which would have been a great little upgrade later down the line if you're after total immersion or that authentic 360-degree soundscape. While I do think this soundbar offers a pretty wide soundstage, it again can't compete with a setup with rears sending audio from behind you, and the sound naturally stops in line with you. So for those looking for a more all-encompassing experience, then you might prefer a setup with dedicated surround sound rears. But hopefully they'll bring these out in the future, and the rumours have already started and look promising, but for those shopping around right now, it's just something to bear in mind. Now, I mentioned it earlier, but one of the staple features of Sennheiser's soundbar range is their Ambeo mode. Now, I've had a little bit of a love-hate relationship when I've been testing their soundbars out in the past, but I actually think it plays into the strengths of the Mini. You still get that sense there's a catch-22 to be had, whereby you're sacrificing lively and expansive audio with Ambeo on for more natural dialogue and clarity when it's off. Now, I still think there's a time for it to be on and off, and I'd like to see a little more consistency in vocal clarity regardless of whether it's on, but there is that voice enhancement toggle in-app, which did a great job at picking up a bit of the slack in this department. It's one of those things. If you're all about your clarity and dialogue, voice enhancement's probably worth keeping on the majority of the time, but I suppose it all comes down to how you enjoy listening. All in all, Ambeo mode though is a nice option to have, and something that I've definitely enjoyed playing around with, and something that I definitely recommend you guys doing too. Now, moving away from film and TV, I do just want to very quickly focus on the music listening experience from this soundbar too, because I think that this is actually a really musical soundbar. From testing, it handled everything that I've had to throw at it really well. Every genre and track was dealt with ease, and was everything that I'd expected it would be from a Sennheiser product. I thought the mid-range details in tracks like Where I Find My Mind were brilliant. The separation was excellent too, and even really complex Dolby Atmos tracks like Militarian by Jay Huss felt clean. Again, the bass could probably benefit from a little boost here, but the vocals were great, and like I said, there's always the option for a sub if you've got the budget. Now, as I teased at the start, I've been doing a lot of side-by-side comparisons with the Sonos Beam, as this is one of the front runners in the compact soundbar market. Now, if you want the simple answer, based on audio performance alone, the Ambeo Mini is the better soundbar. But should you expect it to be with that £200 step up in price? For me, the Ambeo Mini's Dolby Atmos handling is better. It offers a wider soundstage, and its details and separation are also a step above the Beam. However, the Beam isn't class leading for no reason. Now, one place it beats the Ambeo Mini for me is with its low-end performance, delivering a better bass performance. Plus, the vocals on the Beam are really very impressive, and one of the features that I love most about it. Stepping away from pure sound performance, the Ambeo Mini offers more versatile connectivity with the option of Bluetooth and DTS:X, which are two things that I know that the Sonos community would love to see on the Beam. However, the Sonos ecosystem, if that's something that you're looking for, is a huge plus point for the Beam. Not only giving you the flexibility to connect to speakers all over your home, but also to add a sub and rears wirelessly. So for those who want their soundbar to be the starting point for a full home cinema setup, then right now, the Beam would be the smarter choice. But all in all, these two soundbars are great options, and it's great that we do have choice in this category when it comes to design, brand, budget, and more. Now, would I say that the Ambeo Mini is £200 better than the Beam? For the right person, yes, and for the other, no. But who is that right person? Well, that brings me on to my verdict and final thoughts. For me, I feel this is a soundbar that's designed to sit in that sweet spot of performance, price, and form factor. Not only is it wonderfully simple to use from calibration to control to the single cable connection, but it's built to be small enough to fit into almost any space and delivers a sound performance that's more than capable of filling a larger environment if needed. I think the ideal customer for this soundbar is someone who's after that premium performance but doesn't need or want a large soundbar and or a whole home cinema setup to go with it. It gives a clean, powerful and immersive performance and truly comes alive with Atmos content, outperforming its spec sheet and form for me. Now, as a standalone soundbar, I do think this has taken the crown of the best premium compact Dolby Atmos soundbar, albeit at a premium price. And yes, it's got its pros and cons, and for some people, something like the Beam might be a better investment for you and your space. But for those who do opt for this Ambeo Mini, I think you're gonna really, really enjoy it. But it's time to hear from you guys. What do you think about this soundbar? Has it earned a place on your shortlist? Let me know down in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you all next time.